Welcome back to the Amazon European Masters, and Jamada, I hate to say it, but AGRO kind of swept the floor with Bifrost as they take the first game in this best-of-5 series.
I said they'll give him one. Now, this was a bit of a spanking. No matter how you look at it, I think AGRO just did a really good job at approaching this game, right? Shutting down Cboi's champion pool in draft. I think, like Orcs highlighted as well, coming out of the game, I think a lot of wasted bans as well too. So I think AGRO on the Bifrost side, I think AGRO just really approached the game from draft, and then going into it, the execution was pretty solid as well.
Yeah, because looking at that draft, we were talking about curveballs. To me, Twitch kind of feels like a curveball.
And the beautiful thing is, again, it's something new from AGRO. It's their first trap card. Bifrost activated it, and they execute on it. Like, they find the first gank in the mid lane. They caught Furuy a bit. Yeah, he didn't really know what's going on. Suddenly, he dies in the mid lane. And from then on, they employ the Twitch in a very, very good fashion. I also think that the supporting cost they build around it, the gank plank that could help with keeping the range, but also help with literally a long-range assist with his ulti, was really strong. And I think they showed up big in the first game, and Bifrost got a little bit surprised by it.
And I think it's interesting you talk about all these champions, but not about the Ahri, because I think Ahri is a staple pick in the entire Amazon European Masters so far. Nite on the Ahri was just, you know, he gets a little help, and Furuy, I hate to say it, but he gets the worst end of it. Nite was popping off on the Ahri.
Yeah, no, and I think also, you know, AGRO first picking the Ahri as well, and then putting so much time into getting Nite ahead in that matchup, it's also a very, you know, staple and safe champion for Furuy. For situations like this right now, obviously this is slightly before.
That was a max range charm.
almost available. You can see Nite still playing really well around having so much, you know, sort of time and resources put in towards him. And unfortunately, Furuy just couldn't keep up. He couldn't keep track of the Twitch, and there was just too much going on inside of his lane. And Nite again, just like back to back to back, consistently finding these high value targets with his charms and making these plays go his way.
I think it's interesting because we set them up like, you know, Nite kind of is the how is it, neutralizer for AGRO, but in this case, you know, he just takes either. I think he had a death cap at like 12, 13 minutes. That was ridiculous.
The beautiful thing about Nite is he can be the neutralizer, but he's more like the Swiss knife. He can do whatever he needs to do for his team. Like, do you want him to carry on some in late game? Give him a Corki. He's fine. Do you want him to carry in the early game and take away the Ahri from Furuy? Apparently, he can also do that till this effect, and that's really scary to go up against, because if he can pull out whatever he wants, he just makes the draft phase for AGRO so comfortable that apparently they can come with stuff that we haven't seen yet, but that works perfectly well.
And we set Bifrost up for their team fights, and they tried eventually. But looking at this fight around, I'd say 23 minutes somewhere, this fight, they tried.
Yeah, so I like that we pause it right here, because if you look at DuaLL engaging, they see the backline, right? They see Nite, they see FLICKR. They think if we can go in, Cboi, Furuy are kind of in position to follow up, and it's the first time they've audi'd in a fight. But look how far DuaLL is. If we roll the clip right here, you flash for your engage, you're very far up. The person that can follow is Furuy, but he follows into a tower. We pause it here again because look where he's exhausted under the tower doing no damage. FLICKR flashes out, he has the Yuumi. But what is more importantly is that there is a cannon barrage going on. So Cboi and Ode, they can actually not really enter this fight anymore. Even if they want to burst FLICKR down, they don't have anything left in their toolkit. And then if we roll the clip, we all know what happens then. This is actually when Rogue takes over the game, because yeah, UTP went aside, you instantly disengage with your ulti, but because Ode is so strong at this moment, they still feel like they can fight it, but they can't actually manage to find the fight.
I think the most important one here is like it shows the value of the GP that you already set up, Jamal. Like the GP is so essential in this fight to, you know, not give Bifrost an opening to get back into the game.
Yeah, just the fact of being able to drop Cannon Barrage in moments like that where it's just entirely splits apart the Bifrost composition when the divers want to go in and, you know, damage users want to follow up, but they just can't. There's a massive slow field in front of them. There's nothing they can really do about that. I think Sinmivak piloted it really well. There was nothing that really had to be done in the top side other than just farm into a Scion. I think all in all, Rogue just played this one out exceptionally, and they understood, you know, draft into execution as well. Even though they had, you know, this kind of weird level 1 where Cboi was invading, they still capitalized on sent luck mid to shut down Furuy on the Vex, which didn't really pop off much.
Does it feel like a different AGO Rogue in this quarterfinals?
I think this is actually what you want to see from AGO Rogue. They come out with a clear idea in this draft, and the beautiful thing is they've shown like about 3 to 4 styles that really work in Ultraliga. The question was, one of those styles is setting up FLICKR for success. Can it still work when you have an emergency substitute in beansu? Well, they prove it can. The Twitch was a very big issue for Bifrost to play around, and the other people did amazing. I mean, Nite, we can't say enough how clean his Ahri was, but the fact that they are comfortable with just drafting a Twitch Yuumi is insane, because they are here in the knockout stage with not the best of setup they could have wished for, but they're doing amazingly well.
I do want to look at one more fight. That is the final Baron fight, Jamada. Looking at what happens there, you see the value of the Twitch coming up again.
Yeah, and I think Twitch as well. Just the fact that, Cleanse is available, just being able to step out of the ultimate, having reduced, CC duration as well. And the Yuumi eventually hops on his back. And we're at a point now where, I think the previous replay, that was Bifrost's final opportunity to get a fight at kind of put our dub equal footing. This was already far gone for them. And the fact that they can't shut FLICKR down in a situation like that, where he oversteps with Flash.
What is that GP damage? I'm sorry, but what is that?
Okay. I will say, Gangplank's damage is probably inflated a bit because he was laning into Sion.
Okay.
And he gets a lot of free damage in lane. But still, the fact that he was able to top the damage charts is kind of impressive nonetheless.
But still, we got to talk about the Ahri and the Twitch. They both do the same amount of damage for their team. The 2 carries for Igorok showing up huge. Now, looking at Bifrost, they chose red side again. I mean, we were having this discussion back in the green room where we sit to watch the game. How OP is red side right now?
Red side is by far maybe the strongest side right now. I think there's still priority picks you want on the blue side. I think why Bifrost wants the red side.
I mean, some priority picks, you first pick Ahri and just take over the game.
But that's why I think Bifrost want red side to be able to react to what Rogue is doing in the draft. But I think their reaction right now, they got a bit caught off guard. They went for the Graves flex. And then they saw the GP and were like, okay, sign. They didn't have an answer. And the GP just had a free lane. So I think they need to get way more out of red side if they want to make it work.
I mean, does it make it work? I mean, they had their reaction now as well in the draft, and it doesn't work for them. I mean, do you want to stay on red side? Do you want to go for blue side?
I actually think what's interesting about this draft is even though a Go Rogue are on blue side, I think they reacted better to what they saw in comparison to what Bifrost saw on the opposite side, in my opinion. I think that from top to bottom, having the Twitch prepped, having, the Ahri first pick, Xin Zhao still there as well to sort of play around the 2v2 once they got that lead. I can't really compliment a Go Rogue enough on the prep that went into this draft specifically. Obviously, as we move forward, I think it's interesting that Bifrost have chosen to stay on red side because when you stay on the same side after a game 1 loss, it normally says to me you feel like the draft wasn't necessarily the issue. So I'm curious to see what adaptation may come out, or maybe they have a slightly different take on what they had. Because again, I think when you see Cboi on something like Graves, it's a little bit traditionally too high economy for me. In my opinion, Cboi is kind of champion pool. I want to see him on a facilitating role to actually enable Fury. And Odie was enabled enough. I just feel like they weren't actually able to play around him. And that was the big issue in this game for Bifrost.
I mean, I think the game was played right before you get into the game, right? Once again, in the pre-show, you said Bifrost, super good team fighting team, but they kind of need to get into the late game stage where Odie actually has some items to carry it out.
And the beautiful thing is the Twitch Yuumi is new for the side of Rogue. We haven't seen it yet. But Twitch, when you're on even footing with a Zeri, you start to outrange the champion. If you can't choose a fight on your own terms, you can just completely keep Odie out of that fight. And only in a long extended fight does the Zeri find the opening again. And Rogue showed that in a couple of those late game fights where Odie didn't really have an impact on the Zeri, even though they were baited into picking it because it was open on the red side.
Now, they stay on the red side once again, as we mentioned multiple times now. What do we want to see from Bifrost in this case?
I want to see the Graves changed up, I think. Even though the early game went well, like, how much do you really get done when you just give, like, Graves a farm lead? In a game like this, it's kind of tough to play out. Like, you have one roll, smoke screen the Twitch when he opens up. That's kind of it. You dish out your damage from max range. It wasn't really enough in this case. I think if maybe Fury wasn't so far behind, the burst would have mattered. But, yeah, I want to see definitely... I want to see Cboi on a facilitator. Maybe Fury can stay on the Vex. If Twitch is out of the game, then maybe he gets to play it this time around. We'll have to see.
Igorok are 1 game up. Can Bifrost strike back in this fight for survival between the NLC and the Ultraliga? It's time to send it over to our casters.
Thank you very much, Coolin and Helen. Helen? Hello, and welcome back to the cast.
Am I Helen? I don't know.
I'm joined by Helen, apparently. So we heard from the desk, and especially from Jamada, when we're looking at Bifrost in this series, we want to see a bit of a change. The question for me is, what do you want to see changed? Not that.
Yeah, well, I agree with
solid answer there, Ox.
I agree with what Jamada brought to the point as well, right? And we've been talking about it for so long, okay? Cboi on a facilitator. Now, I mean, you're going to hear it a lot because it's what worked for Bifrost. It was a really big surprise seeing the Graves.
Yeah, I think there was even moments in that game where a jungler who is the sort of jungler who'd pick Graves would have sacked bot lane, gone, I'm going to clear through my top side because there's like 5 camps in a row up and top side scuttle, and Cboi was like, no, I'm going to play for my bot lane. And so that lead he actually accrued didn't end up snowballing further, and it kind of shows this was a player trying to play a style that doesn't really suit what he's been doing so far in the tournament.
And they've chosen red side again, so it's going to be interesting to see what Bifrost now wants to opt into instead. Cboi still getting all of his champion pools banned out, and Bifrost, this was the thing I was curious to see. Will you continue to take away the champion pool of Rabble, like the Lily as well coming through now? Or would you try and attack FLICKR or the Ari instead here? For now, it just looks like they want to run it back a little bit.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like throwing bans at like the Rengar, the Lilia, in game one was a bit of a mistake because it gives the opportunity, you know, if you can defeat those picks, you don't have to worry about banning them for the rest of the series. Because now they've locked in 2 bans already on this red side. They are going to take away the Ari, but Aguro just first pick the Lucian, which I'm going to say I prefer the Ari first pick. So I feel like this isn't as bad news for Bifrost already. But still, they're going to have to be able to deal with the potential triple flex.
I think that Ari ban was the nice one here for me because it does remove that really powerful enabler that Nite picked up in the mid lane. They set him up early with that Lucker beansu gank, and I really like that adaptation. Bifrost now leaning away from the Zeri, which I think they should do, and they're going into something that can scale a little bit harder into the later stages.
And this is way more OD as well. I also feel like at least when you have to pick between the Jinx and the Aphelios, knowing that Zeri is still up, having the Aphelios with the Gravitum as well, so you still have that punish potential on towards the Zeri is great, especially specifically because we know how much Bifrost likes to play for this Bifrost, or bot lane rather. And if this pick were to come through, which it is, we finally see Cboi on something a little more comfortable on, but not as facilitating as we still usually see. But it makes more sense now to have a bot side. If you can get the resets, then you can get something done in fights as well.
The positive thing is he's picking up an early jungle pick when the jungle pool's been threatened so heavily, and particularly they've targeted 2 of your signature champions so far in the tournament. I think him getting the jungle there is really important. Obviously, Aphelios is also something that checks a Lucian at close range. You can play around the culling at a big distance, but if you dash into him, Aphelios in the late game will just shred you. And we see the Lucian Nami come out for Go Rogue, so looking to apply a fair bit of pressure in the bot lane, and it also means kind of similar to the Twitch Yuumi, not quite the same because you don't have the stealth, but if someone steps up in the mid game, you can just dash in, Gale Force, and just delete them.
Well, the Trundle's been picked up here for Rabble, and that'll be going in to Cboi on this Viego. What are we making of this particular matchup? Because, you know, it feels like these games and this series will be defined by these two, at least in the early stages.
I feel like Trundle is one of those few champions that can actually brawl a little bit with Viego in the early game as well. Like, usually Viego wins pretty much all the 1v1s coming into that early game. This time around, though, gives you something to play for. But I also think in the bigger picture, it means Shikari can't just go slam something like the Scion immediately himself. Then you know that those resistances will be taken away.
Yeah.
This time around, though, they decide to match the Enchanter bot lane. This gives you some more room to play around with for Odie. This gives you some more late game agency, which is for sure something they lacked in the last game. So hopefully this time around with Bifrost, they can round out a composition that's going to peel Odie now.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is I don't mind if Bifrost fall behind early. I don't think Bifrost mind if they fall behind early, but not with the comps in game one. Here, I feel like they're going to be a lot more comfortable if they do go later. And you can see the kind of intent I'm getting here is that Bifrost probably going to pick Shikari's pick on 4. Just the fact that they're banning away the likes of the Jace, right? Trying to thin away things where a Goro can play around Sinmivak and get him ahead.
I'm curious to see what they actually go for here. I was thinking maybe Shikari might just want to pick the GP and can play that instead, but actually it's just going to ban that away. And there's been a lot of attention towards this top lane. Obviously the Ornn being banned away, the Malphite is the final ban, so a lot of these kind of like engaged tanks taken away here and denying from Shikari. And Shikari, you know, there's still the pick of the litter. You don't have to go for that engaged tank. Things like the Camille are open. We have seen players lean a lot more towards that Camille during the group stages as well. But there's hover here on that Gnar as well. Pretty decent pickup for him.
I think it's going to get locked in. I think it's going to get locked in. It's something we've seen countless of times from Shikari as well in the NLC. And I want to go back to the point that Orcs was just making. Saving this counter pick for Furuy in the mid lane, it's so pivotal. Like, he was struggling against Nite. And you need to shut Nite down. Usually a Go Rogue has a playstyle where they will have mid lane priority, and that mid lane priority will give them so much room to play around with, either be by the jungle or by moving down towards the bot side. They need to make the mid lane work if they want to contain the early game pressure that a Go Rogue brings to these games.
And I think that's one of the weaknesses Bifrost has, is that often we don't see them linking up as well with Furuy, making plays in the side lanes. Typically, like a fantastic team will use their mid lane, move them into the side lanes, and knock those 4-man dives, whereas for Bifrost, it feels like Cboi is a bit more independent, and we do end up getting the Camille come up some Sinmivak, and then Nite taking the Viktor. So definitely, I don't feel like the strongest lane in terms of agency does have decent prior contention, especially once it gets the laser upgrade. But Furuy should be comfortable in this matchup.
If you want to take the 2v2 as well, like even champions like Syndra, even scaling champions like the Orianna, where you play a little bit around with the Shockwave as a peeling tool and the extra shielding for Odie, wouldn't be a bad matchup. So wouldn't be surprised to see that to come through from the side of Furuy here.
And you nailed it. They locked in the Syndra. So definitely very different drafts from what we had in game number 1 between these teams. Last time we focused a little bit more on, we really like what Agoroga put together. It leans into their play style. It feels like Bifrost, you know, this isn't really what we saw out of them during the group stages and everything. But we're having a bit of a massively different draft here from both of these teams. Orcs, what are we thinking of it this time?
I feel like Bifrost a lot more comfortable, right? They have so many tools to range check this Lucian as well. I think Agoroga need the Lucian Nami to get ahead, because if they're not, you dash in, Syndra presses R, maybe OD autos you twice, and you are just dead. So Agoroga, I feel like they have to get ahead early, which we saw them do fantastically in the previous game, but Bifrost have so much more agency now.
But they need to show that they can contain the early game pressure that comes from a Go Rogue. It's not just going into the champions, it's also the strategies being applied by a Go Rogue once we finally hit the rift. We saw it just before with the level 1 cheese coming through from the Twitch. They like being a little more creative. If you can get through that early game stage of a Go Rogue, because they are an incredibly good early game team, well, then you have a lot of ease of execution in your composition. But it's about making that happen, and a Go Rogue, they've been stellar so far.
They have been absolutely stellar so far. They had an amazing start to that game. You know, I wouldn't call it cheese. I call it creative decision making.
I mean,
at that
they
level
had a
1.
Twitch, right?
Yeah,
You've got to call it.
But honestly, you know, they played it. They played that early very well. And I think if we look at like Bifrost, one thing I will give Bifrost is they are quite good at just waiting it out and kind of stalling. Their draft didn't lean into that playstyle in that last game. They didn't have those breakpoints, which we would typically wait for. I think it was Orcs who said it in the last game around that like Dragon Soul fight, where it was like, this is normally where we see the big turnaround, like Odie pops off, but he was on the Zeri, and he'd already kind of gone past that breakpoint while the Twitch was on 4 items and was just continuing to scale.
Like, you even saw Agoroga kind of fumbled a little bit the fight, and that's when I thought it was the window to get back in, but the deficit was too big. They didn't have the scale in the composition. I think with this comp, if that moment arises, the Bifrost moment, when the enemy team makes one mistake in the mid to late game, I think they have the tools to capitalize.
But it's about getting there. And I think for this game, we will see the difference of how these two junglers matter for their team. I can imagine Rabble, as soon as he gets on his 2nd or 3rd clear, he's going to be out counter jungling. Or Cboi, he's going to be trying to save his bot side, giving away camps, skipping camps to make sure that his laners is in a good position.
Which is super important here, right? Lucian, Nami on the enemy team, really strong with that burst potential when you dash in with the E empowered on you, can just chunk a target out. And, you know, I feel like they can just constantly fish for those short trades onto Bifrost bot lane and look to have so much lane pressure at the back of it.
Well, I feel early is going to be defined by both of these junglers, Cboi and Rabble. Typically, we've seen Bifrost early live and die by Cboi. Last game, he was on a very different champion, and it didn't quite go the way we expected from him, right?
Definitely not, and you can also just see it by the kill participation there, right? Cboi rather. A guy who likes hovering around the laners, likes being around them, and on the side of Rabble, he just goes for counter jungler, man. He just needs to get ahead, right? So it's about choking out the enemy laner, getting to that point where they finally have the item spikes where they can fight around the drakes, and that's where Go Rogue strikes.
Jungler start on the top side. Why am I not surprised? I feel like the focal point, the expectation is going to be bot, and I feel like we've seen that time and time again for Bifrost. We saw that last game, a lot of attention afforded towards that, and I feel like it's super necessary. I do also want to talk a little bit about the Lucian Nami. So Lucian Nami has so much burst potential in the lane, and because of the sustain as well, if you go for those snappy trades, you can really come out ahead. But you do have to be a little bit cautious. If you overextend, if you dash forwards as Lucian, you get exhausted, and the sustained damage comes out from Aphelios, you can be punished. So you have to be a little bit cautious about that.
And a big mistake a lot of people will make in a Lucian Nami lane is thinking that you have to get aggressive level 2. Not the case. You can wait for level 3. You can wait for Nuku as well for Lucian before you get aggressive. Like, you still have decent scaling up towards level 6. It's after that where if you haven't found a kill, you start worrying a little bit.
I mean, honestly, even I feel like first item for both of them, Gale Force on Lucian, Imperial Mandate on Nami, is such a massive spike. And I feel like, you know, the mistake I see is them overstepping too much and thinking, we have to be so far ahead in lane.
I remember that because Orcs was my Lucian in solo queue the other day and running it down.
Interesting
What
to
are you
note,
saying, dude?
interesting to note is actually Cboi's early pathing. He just went red and straight down into his bot side. Maybe expecting some early action in this bot lane. Rabble on the other side did a complete topside clear for himself. And now Cboi having a path up towards the rest of his jungle to catch up on that farm, where Rabble can move in, try and spot out where Cboi's been or is going to go, and then get this crab and then maybe look for something in this bot side.
Well, actually, it makes sense here because he's dodged away from potential invade from Rabble. That's the thing with the amount of priority that this Go Rogue bot lane has. You could be in a precarious position if you were still doing your Gromp at that time.
Oh, this could be dangerous.
Spectral Moors on tonight. He's going to put the gravity field down. Furuy needs to find that scatter the weak and won't do so. Nite is just able to get away.
Yeah, or could just be new Nite had the flash, right? I feel like he probably would have gone for it then anyway and forced it. But either way, Nite avoids the gank, but is pressured a bit. And now LICKR and beansu potentially looking for a bit more burst coming out here.
Bit of bubble's not going to go down. Cboi maybe looking for a return gank here onto Nite. Nite's still holding that flash. Cboi got that Spectral Maw on the way. Set up pretty nice here for this gank. There they go. Instantly flash out into the Spectral Maw. Nite falls down. First blood for Cboi. And now he can fight Rabble all he likes. Catches him with a gravity field and actually doing a lot of damage to Rabble. Rabble has to put the pillar up.
Yeah, so really good play. You go for the gank initially, but the problem is the wave state wasn't fixed. So easy return for Cboi. The flash is committed, but this is an overstay.
Yeah, this is a massive overstay. Furuy gets a good scatter off, has to flash away. Nite doesn't have flash, but Rabble comes in. Cboi, he's stunned. He's locked down, and Nite gets the next one. 2 kills for Rogue.
And I was just about to make the point that Bifrost finally contained Rogue in the early game. They got a little bit of a lead for themselves. But they got overzealous, they got overconfident, they stayed too long in the lane, and immediately Rabble he punish.
Like, I can understand.
Oh, that's a cheeky bubble. Odie should be okay, although beansu taking a lot of damage.
Gotta be careful about that one approaching. The Aphelios, especially when there's the polymorph, the exhaust, tools like that to come in to shut down the all-in. But yeah, I mean, I feel like Bifrost, right, they clearly wanted to get the wave shove. I know why, everyone understands it, but you had TP, you could have just gone for the quick reset, TP'd back in and not risked it.
No way.
And the fact you gave 2 kills over, such a... Oh, they're looking, this is...
Odie stayed. Keep in mind, he doesn't have a heal. DuaLL does for him. Looking for the graviton, they get the polymorph off. The flash comes forward from Odie. The flash comes out from LICKR. And Bifrost burning a lot of summoner spells in the bot lane there.
Little bit of a mistake in execution there. Odie, who could have flashed forward with the Gravitum auto attack. He wanted to be quick about it with the flamethrower instead. Because of that, LICKR, he was able to flash away from it. And he get out scot-free. But let's have a look at the replay in the mid lane once again.
Yeah, I mean, not too much you can do here. Once you committed the flash, Cboi even uses his to secure. But then it's this overstay, right? And honestly, I feel like this wasn't that necessary. Furuy could have gone for a quick reset, just TP back in and then push the wave in with the extra mana, but they stay so long to try and secure this. It's too greedy.
It's for sure a mistake, and the wave was even in a good position while it was stacked. Furuy doesn't connect with the good stun either. And Rabble, it's the passive coming through from Trundle as well, that whenever you kill someone, you get that extra HP if it's around you, and yeah, it's just super easy to pick up. Rabble is fine.
Power pillar. Power of the pillar, my friend. There's a... Dragon is up, it's a Cloud Drake to start off, and Bifrost are in the first in the area. Bot wave, pretty even, so there's no real priority to work with down there. I'm curious to see where we're going to see these junglers, or when we're going to see these junglers look to try and scrap for that Dragon, because it feels like this game a lot more skirmish heavy, right?
Yeah, and you can see that if you just look at the fact that so many summoners are down and unavailable, it means Cboi and Rabble are really empowered.
Oh, they got him. No, they don't. Nite throws out the Chaos Storm and is now cooking the pair of them.
And that's the thing, is like the junglers feel empowered because the laners don't have summoners. Easy ganks pretty much everywhere but top lane, but that was a little bit not just Cboi not being close enough to connect on the follow-up stun. And Nite, I'm gonna say he's been focused a fair bit by Bifrost jungler. He's doing a solid job in this game just to mitigate the pressure.
Yeah, but this is so good for Bifrost at the same time, because all the time that Bifrost are using to gain pressure in the mid lane, you have to respond as a Go Rogue, and because of that, you're using a lot of resources, making Viktor matchup work into the Syndra. That's resources you could have used down towards the bottom side. Resources Rabble could have used to try and clear out the top side or bot side when this blue buff spawns with the bot lane priority. But they're not getting that. So Bifrost, in terms of that scaling aspect, we usually dictate as their win condition, they're kind of fine.
Yeah. I was going to say that. How do we feel this bot lane is going? Because LICKR hasn't kind of accrued a massive lead. And yes, they've had priority in this particular state, but
I think
Odie's okay, right?
I think it actually gets kind of hard at this point, like pre-culling, because if you dash in, you just get polymorph.
Oh! Does do a lot of damage before the poly goes down, though.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe DuaLL a little bit slow on that one and Odie not there to respond. But you have to be like super respectful, because anytime, and even there, right, you got DuaLL low, but you didn't kill him. right? Because if you overstay and you stay in range off Odie, you will get shredded. So you kind of need the culling to have that 100-0 potential for the lane, and that's where they get a big power spike.
Oh, let's see here. Ward down towards the bot side. Cboi might be out of vision currently. I'm not too sure, actually.
Let's see how good Odie and Jules acting is. They are out of vision for the moment, but not aware of this ward, and Cboi now finally spotted. Is going to be just Bifrost pushing a little bit in and maybe moving towards this dragon, although there's another ward that spots them out immediately. If you look on the minimap, Sinmivak's actually rotated down into the mid lane, so this is actually way scarier than it looks. Rabble in the area as well, but it looks like that's going to be it for now on that little bit of excitement.
You need to be a little patient here as Bifrost. You know that you currently don't have any intel in case of Sinmivak, so just taking a chill here, just going back, clearing your camps. You know Cboi got his blue buff to clear. He's currently on Grom, and on the side of Rabble, he's clearing out the red side.
And I feel like there's no pressure to go for the early dragon. It's nice. It does mean that you're not threatened by soul as much if Bifrost can get it, but I feel like they're comfortable just waiting for a Go Rogue to potentially be the aggressors. Now, Cboi is fishing around mid again. Does have the ultimate and the stun connects.
Yeah, they do catch him with a stun. Now he's going to get himself up with the Spectral Maw. Needs to land it, unable to do so. The Gravity Field slow doing a lot of work there for Nite. Meanwhile, the cullings come out. Turret's just going to eat the majority of it from Odie, so that was very quick by him.
How broken is that, right? You just slammed on the turret, and that turret looked like the tankiest thing I've ever seen.
It's such a broken combo as well, okay?
Oh, nice little scatter there by Furuy, but doesn't have any backup as the Chaos Storm comes out from Nite. Furuy should be A-okay, but Cboi's in the wings. Actually, spotted by Rabble. Didn't see him on the minimap. And it looks like this might just be a Rift Herald actually for Rogue now. Now Fury's been kind of forced and zoned out by that Chaos Storm.
Yeah, Nite uses the ult just to make sure he wins the trade and also clears out the wave and shares Cryo. So now Bifrost just not able to contest this, especially the strong early power of this Trundle still very much at play.
And this is why we want to see them move in as a unit into the mid lane, get that priority and move it down towards the bot side. See if you can get the gold injection down towards this Lucian. See if you can move FLICKR around the map to create the pressure that we need. So far, very stable early game in between them, but a lot of action has already happened.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say, actually. The gold is dead even at 10 minutes between these two teams. We, based off the last game, kind of expected, you know, Rogue to be able to push their advantage early. But this game, it feels like Cboi's being a lot more proactive on the map, and this is that kind of live and die by the early game from Cboi as Furuy getting a nice trade-off onto Nite. There is a Rift Herald, though. I think that's the key thing. Rabble has that Rift Herald, and we'll see where that goes. The question for me is, where do we think we're going to see that attention from this Herald and try to open up that particular part of the map?
I mean, I think at the bot lane ahead, right, if you free up FLICKR and beansu, you'll give them enough gold so you get the Gale Force from the Lucian. They can start and move around. Looks like that's not going to be the play, though. So if you show top here, you're going to get plates for sure. And we could see Bifrost just answer the dragon on the other side, though.
Timing's going to be crucial here. Fury does have that teleport too. He's going back to base right now to get more items, get some more mana. So if they go overextend here...
Really good interrupt there by Sinmivak. Gets the slow off as well. Teleport's coming in. Shikari's about to Gnar out. Can he get it in time? Flashes away. And that's Fury jumping in with the unleashed power. Sinmivak goes down. A Scan of the Week lands as well. And Rabble's forced to flash over the wall. An absolutely flawless defense by Shikari. But Rabble's just running mid with Herald.
And just as we called out, Fury, he had that teleport. That was very over-aggressive from a Go Rogue. Question is, Bifrost, are you getting too over-aggressive now?
Maybe a little bit, but it looks like they're just going to be A-okay with that.
Oh,
Although
actually,
Cboi jumping into Rabble.
Ult.
Rabble running away, does have that ultimate available, and it looks like that's going to be all she wrote, but meanwhile, the bot lane are roaming up.
Yeah, just so much pressure achieved by Bifrost here, right? The defense to the top lane, and they chunk out Rabble, don't allow him to use the Herald freely, just buy him more time, and honestly, they could just pick up the dragon here.
This is great from the side of Bifrost. They have come to life. This is what we finally see when it's a team that's not shut down in the early game. And they are contesting the likes of a Go Rogue, who's been one of the better early game teams we've had in the tournament, at least from what we've seen in their group setting. Let's have a look at the replay once again. Furuy had that teleport aggression coming through from the Go Rogue 2-0 on the top side. And here is where they go a bit too aggressive. Shikari with a beautiful flash. Disengages. No flash from Sinmivak. Easy cleanup for Fury.
Yeah, just the R. The R is enough to finish him off when he's that low. The response comes in, and critically, because you're countering the play the Rabble is making, means they're not able to get the Herald. They are looking again to try and make this happen, though. But look, Cboi's in the wings, and Fury's already in position to move as well.
Shikari's Gnar bar's also stacked up fairly heavily here. Sinmivak's able to jump away, and Shikari zoned away by the pillar. They do get the charge off, but that gold goes to Rabble.
And I'm just going to say, just getting plates in a side lane isn't that worth it. If you're just going to take plates, you get it mid, because mid tower is so important in terms of the presence it has on the map. If you're going to herald a side lane tower, you want the whole thing. So the fact that a Go Rogue just got some gold there, they're still even with Bifrost. Bifrost really comfortable with that.
And also, yeah, Camille will outscale the Gnar later on side, but it's like still getting that few gold in there. There was better members to use it on, and I think as well from the map play strategy that Orcs just mentioned, getting that mid lane would have been real nice, especially if you can shut down the side lanes, move that pressure down to the bot side, try to shut down Odie, but Odie this time around, he's ahead in CS by a little bit, but he's in a really good spot this time around because he's the outscaling champion, and this is what we need for Bifrost so many times.
I think crucially as well, Bifrost are in a pretty comfortable position because they right now are even. We're approaching that 14-minute mark, and typically, Bifrost are actually down. I pressed the button twice.
Do you want to press it again?
I'll press the button again.
Job, G, honestly.
There we go. Bifrost are typically down at 14 minutes, and they're up 200 gold, we'll say, but, you know, they are typically down at this point.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of teams in the tournament who have a lot of early pressure. A Go Rogue doesn't have the most you can see from their stats, but still more than Bifrost. Bifrost, if they're going into this point even or ahead, they feel comfortable, especially with this comp. And you see, Looker tries to dash forward to combo, polymorph, and you just can't do anything. You have to be so cautious about approaching Odie, and this is kind of what I was talking about at a draft. There's so many things that range check this Lucian.
But also, they're face checking him every time he's got the Calibrum and Chakram. Wait for these guns to disappear. That's when you get aggressive.
Is costing them pretty heavily there. We also see an amazing pillar come out from Rabble, because I honestly think that fight, that little exchange bot lane, probably could have gone worse if both Odie and Cboi didn't get pillared and zoned away from Lucker, because that poly was pretty rough. For Shikari, even though there's been 2 attempts to take his tower, actually doing a fair amount of damage to that top lane tower himself. No tower on either side has fallen yet. Cboi maybe hunting Rabble here. We'll spot him out as that blast going to get over the wall, and now actually maybe looking to make some kind of a play bot side, but we'll just clear out this ward. Needs to be careful because Rabble and beansu are in the area as the bubble will get dodged away.
And now we're kind of at the point where second Herald's going to be coming up, second Dragon's going to be on the cards. I feel like Bifrost are feeling quite comfortable to start to play for these objectives, and a Go Rogue will be feeling the pressure. But I make something happen around bot, but realistically, unless either side opts into it, they should just be able to disengage. That's the thing when you have 2 of these enchanters, you don't have the same hard engage tools or things like the Nautilus to the owner to get fights going.
Let's take stock of the items at this point as well, because we got that Kraken Slayer on Odie. Buffed up by the Lulu, Odie is going to be outputting some phenomenal damage. Bit of a race for this first tower, which will be won by Sinmivak in the top side. The Bifrost doing a whole lot of damage here as the Moonlight Vigil comes out into the Graviton. Wasn't the Infernum one from Odie?
I would definitely have done more damage, but it's not so much killing them. It's about getting those HP bars low. Exactly. But also getting those HP bars low so you can put in pressure. File in some auto-attack damage on the turret. Now with Mintel on Rabble, I wonder if they're just going to move that pressure up towards the Rift Herald with Odie resetting now and putting themselves in a favorable position for starting up the second objective up there.
It's going to be a big fight. I feel like a Go Rogue definitely still very much in the game, right? And they have the Gale Force on Looker. If someone overextends, if someone's out of position, so easy for the Lucian buffed up by the Nami to try and capitalize. See if they have to move over and actually contest this one. It's currently Bifrost. They have the prio mid. They have the members there. And it looks like a Go Rogue aren't even interested. But the thing is, they're not getting anything on the other side.
Yeah.
Dragons in 30 seconds. Bifrost could easily just reset and move down towards it and contest both neutrals.
Honestly, amazing timing by Bifrost on this rotation, because now they can put that Herald in the mid if they want to crack a tower, get pressure, and then translate that into the Dragon.
That was about the message that Orcs was just talking about. That was a very long message, not over yet.
I've zoned him out after years of working with him. That's what it is.
In the mid lane, though, Colin came out. Furuy, though, disengages, and this time around, Furuy has been way more stable. Nite, yes, he does still have a little lead against him. He does still perform very well. But it's more like even footing this time around.
Cheeky Gnar there by Shikari, just to keep Sinmivak off him. Does also help deal with the wave somewhat for Sinmivak. As for the moment, looks like they're actually continuing to skirmish. Shikari gnawed out, but he's actually got the backup. A fantastic dodge there by accident from Sinmivak on that Spectral Maw.
A lot being traded here between the two top lanes. Both flashes down, both ultimates unavailable. You see a Go Rogue have started up the Dragon. That's the thing. Cboi showed top lane. Looks like he's trying to get a tower instead, make use of the Herald. I'm not sure about this. I feel like he definitely could have just gone bot instead. you're taking, it's not going to be the first tower, there's no plates, I don't think it's a massive advantage, but clearly just trying to play things cautious. And actually in the end, you don't use the Herald, so it's not quite as bad. Still have that in pocket. I think mid lane tier 1 is the thing I want to see smashed with that.
100%, but it's about getting some side lane presence beforehand, and now the top lane is opened up. It opens up a little bit for Shikari if he wants to get involved in some of these mid lane skirmishes that we've already had so many times in the game. And I think a lot of the successfulness we've seen from Bifrost comes down to the composition they now have drafted for themselves. Furuy actually has way better setup in the Syndra, and remember, FLICKR, he's going to be struggling a lot when he has to fight in this composition. It's actually a lot of very short-range champions from a Go Rogue, and if they have to step up to the champions of Bifrost, they'll be having a lot of issues.
Yeah, OD looks scary already, even at this early point. Especially with the exhaust in pocket. If you get in range of OD to hit him, then the exhaust comes in, you get shut down.
Both junglers waiting around in this bot side though. Cboi, I believe, has been able to sneak through without being spotted. Rabble hasn't quite revealed himself, but should be spotted out. Oh, he is spotted out. Cboi's perfectly in position to see him here. They've got that Rift Herald, and OD just trying a bit of acting for the moment. Seeing if either team's going to overstep, and it looks like Cboi is quite happy not using Herald to take this tower and just holding it.
Oh, Cboi still around. They could use the Rift Herald if they want to open off the bot side. Don't have been void just yet. In the mid lane, resets are coming through from Furuy. Almost finished that off. Void Staff second item.
Culling used, but not really much done to duel there. Not in range to connect. Oh, stun gonna come in.
No, it's gonna happen.
It's not. The flash comes out from beansu and he's out.
I feel like we waited so long.
Yeah,
So much of this game has been focused on bot lane. We waited so long for that. It's like, cool, okay.
It's
Moving
also
on.
just, how long do we want to talk about Cboi sitting in that bush? Because he was there for a good solid
He
1
did sit
minute.
there quite a bit, but now he's on
Grump.
Grump and looking to move off and clear through his jungle.
Doing a fantastic job there. Honestly, killing it. Rabble actually making a move into the mid lane. Gets the scatter off and he's just cooked. Easy pick up there for Nite.
And it's just that simple when mid laners don't have flash. That was why Nite was getting attacked so many times earlier. This time around, Furuy, when he doesn't have that defensive summoner spells, it's easy pickings when the pillar comes through. And it's why it's so crucial having that vision control around the mid lane. But you take a look at it right now, a lot of it is just dominated in the Famo. It was earlier until he came up.
Odie's... yeah, Odie just got splashed.
Yeah, I mean, at this point of the game, the damage is there, right? And Odie left isolate, left alone. Jewel moved mid. No follow-up, and this is kind of a weak Herald. You don't have a wave to work with. He'll charge your tower, but it's not going to kill it. It just didn't really achieve much.
This is so disjointed from Bifrost. It feels like they're just falling apart. Furuy dying in the mid lane. Odie dying down towards the bot side. All of a sudden, what do we do with this Rift Herald? I don't know. Let's just use it mid.
It was
And
timing out. They just had to use it, and it was just a desperation. Sure, it chunked the tower.
Is there anything Bifrost could have done so they had more time with the Herald? Maybe a certain member of the team didn't sit in the bot brush for like 2 minutes. Might have had a bit more time afforded to them.
I know what you're talking about.
Who is it?
It's Cboi.
Oh.
It's Cboi. I mean,
again.
that's the thing. If they spent more time trying to set up for the mid tower, I think the thing is they were trying to fish for a pick bot to get bot lane tier 1. But ultimately, I feel like if you got second Herald and mid tier 1s up, that should always be the play.
I completely agree. I think that would have been the smarter play. They could have used it for that second dragon as well, which they ended up giving up because Shikari got caught in the top side, and then they didn't get to use it there.
But our game so far, they're so slow. I just
Yes.
need to take a moment to say that. We're 20 minutes into the game. The only turrets that has fallen is currently the topside turrets. And it makes the map rotation from both teams right now, they're not completely up to par. Like, you could move in with some mid lane priority now, move it down towards the bot side where FLICKR is stacking a wave, but no one's coming for him. The only one responding to it is actually Bifrost. And because of this, we're in a scenario where people just keep pushing wave, there's a response coming through, you keep pushing wave, there's a response coming through, until we'll finally get that fight around probably a Drake in these 40 seconds, where one team most likely will have to take a little bit of a lead.
It's just a handshake, and then you wait for the neutral to go up, and you decide to fight. We do. Oh, have the culling coming out.
Good stun by Cboi to stop the culling as well from doing too much more damage. Pillar by Rabble is going to slow Cboi down, but he can just get himself into the camouflaging away to safety.
Something I will say is we have 2 items on FLICKR with the Essence Reeve and the Gale Force, and critically the Imperial Mandate on the Nami, which you can't even think of that as a Nami item. This is a Lucian item. He is now going to burst someone incredibly effectively if he gets in range. But that's the problem, is getting in range without Fury pressing R or Odie just obliterating him. So there's definitely windows.
Big thing as well is look at Shikari's bar. Almost fully stacked up on the Gnar. It's going to be a real problem to move forward into Shikari right now. And I actually think that alone might be enough just to zone a Go Rogue off. They decide they don't want to deal with it. Sinmivak can take a tower on the top side, and they're happy.
That's the handshake. Once again, these two teams, they keep taking tit for tit, tat for tat. And it's just about waiting once again for that moment, but they don't want to go for it just yet. They need to feel comfortable. They did have a spike on the Lucian there, as Orcs just highlighted. But even then, the pressure of walking into Syndra when you have this short-range champion to play around with, it's not going to help you. But the question is as well, will it help you later when Odie all of a sudden has picked up 3 items?
Yeah, I mean, they had spikes, right? They had Shadow Flame Loons on Nite as well. They had an item advantage mid, item advantage in the jungle, item advantage in the bot lane. It was kind of across the board, but they still felt hesitant. They opt to go for a bit more power towards Sinmivak, getting that extra gold influx. But the thing is, Shikari is still up in levels, level 15, still up in farm. So at the end of the day, is it the right call? I feel like if you go later against this Bifrost composition, you're going to struggle. And the fact that you've now given them 2 dragons, Soul is so far away. A Soul for a Go Rogue won't come until like 38 minutes into the game. It's just too far disconnected from your win cons.
If there is one person that's going to hold up, though, it will be Nite on the Viktor. He does have the range to play around with from the enemy champions as well. That laser will be able to touch Odie as well. Shikari continues to be the weak side king of the North, as he's been doubted. But it's just back to the same thing again. Push in mid, push in bot. It's the same thing with these 2 teams.
I'm curious to see which team's actually going to put a big effort on to try and take this tower. It looks like FLICKR.
That's a lot of effort.
FLICKR's going to go for it. Obviously, this mid lane tower on the side of a Go Rogue, a little bit healthier. Did just need that
waves
charge.
are a state of mind, right? FLICKR just doesn't care. But a Go Rogue, they will pick up this bot lane tier 1. Mid should go down shortly after. But it has been slow, and I think that's kind of what happened in game 1, is the fact that we had the Twitch Yuumi. We had the scaling advantage for a Go Rogue. I think it gave them a lot of confidence. But also, as a great tool, whenever you're like, okay, the game's slow, just send FLICKR mid, look for a pick. And as much as Lucian and Nami can still do that, they haven't been able to make a wake. It's not as easy. You don't have the stealth.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And you don't have the same amount of CC. Yes, you have the tidal wave, but even then, like, flashes are all up from the members of Bifrost. And that's the thing. You're probably not even playing to get a kill right now. I think we're playing to burn summoner spells to set up for the play afterwards, right? It's these steps that we need to take. Vision control is going to be so pivotal as well. I think that's the fight we're just watching as well. Rabble hit by the Graviton, but still...
Oh no, Odie has to flash away, but he's caught inside the Hextech ultimatum! Odie's down! Rabble finds the kill, the tidal wave's coming in, and Nite has got the Chaos Storm! The Blast Cone's going to get him away to safety, and Sinmivak gets scattered by Fury as the Death Ray comes in from Nite. And down goes another 2 kills for the side of a Go Rogue.
And a Go Rogue find a window and they jump, right? Odie and DuaLL just horrifically positioned between each other. Instantly get capitalized, and Odie flashing not over the wall. Oh, just so rough to see. And now a Go Rogue happy with the advantage they found. They're going to be taking this Baron. TP comes in from Shikari. I feel like this is a steal. You can't really contest this in a 5v3.
Cboi does have the flash. He can't get out if he decides to go in, but he does have the toolkit to try and go for a steal. And yeah, you see the lasers there. Let's see how they play this one out.
Sinmivak's come in a great pillar as well for the moment. Can they find the burst? A great scatter of the week comes in. Shikari dodging away for the moment. He's about to Gnar out, but he's taking so much damage. Nite is absolutely slapping people with these laser beams. Baron dissuaded by Bifrost, though.
I would have flipped that.
They were very low, but yeah, as you said, Bifrost actually doing a really good job at trying to mitigate the damage that came out from that fight, and they actually stopped.
Oh my word, Shikari's in trouble. Shikari might just fall.
He's fine.
Ooh.
That was a close one, but
that was very
he
close.
is fine.
Culling just not up in time. I mean, I think it's honestly the restrained decision, but Odie, DuaLL's not with him. DuaLL had the whimsy to even get close to being in range, and then because the pillar gets him away from the wall, he can't flash over, gets caught out, and the team just fall apart after that.
It's just because they're also just so scattered around that mid lane, right? You don't have the proper ways to put the wards down around the enemy turret because, I mean, you can't.
And why is
your top laner was down in the bot side. It was a 5 versus 4.
Why is Odie walking river without his mid support there to back him up? A lot of questions, right? Ultimately, they don't lose the Baron. but they are down 4,000 gold. We had 40 seconds on this next dragon. Bifrost are there first, trying to get control of the area, and if they get this, they will be on soul point. A lot of summoners burnt as well in the last encounter. You can see on the side of Bifrost, only Cboi has his flash available. Lucas still has his. Definitely an opportunity to find some plays.
And once again, let's talk about that mid difference again. 1 item advantage to Nite currently. Fury, I mean, they're quite even, but just single-handedly, Nite has still managed to pop ahead. He's level 17 on this Viktor. If you get close to him in these teamfights, you will die.
I mean, he half-health Fury with a single laser beam. We saw LFLICKR just go back to base and get that last Whisper and double longsword, so he has an advantage over Odie in the item department as well. But both teams are setting up for this dragon. Bifrost were first in the area, but they don't have complete dominating vision control.
You gotta watch Odie. He is the one to carry Bifrost here.
Pillars burnt, dragon falls, and that is going to be Sinmivak. Oh my word! Chunking DuaLL as the Chaos Storm is going to land on Shikari. He jumps back, but the Goroga just continuing to chase forwards. Little bit of damage coming out here and there, but Sinmivak's going to jump in, and Cboi is dismantled. They get the ult back from the Gnar, but Shikari will have to sacrifice himself. Odie not feeling it yet. The pillar yo-yoed back as Shikari goes down. And a Go Rogue just cashing in on 2 more kills.
And it's just better team fighting once again from a Go Rogue. Bifrost, they're so uncoordinated, they're so scared to walk in, and they just doesn't really seem like they know what to do in team fights like that. A Go Rogue, they just end up running them down. Even the scatter that came out from Fury didn't stop anything. There is nothing that stopped a Go Rogue in their track of walking them down, and I don't think there's going to be anything stopping them from getting this Baron either.
And now the gold lead really opening up. The fact that they're about 6,000 up pre-Baron, then they're going to have that objective with they're going to be able to pick up more gold from the structures. Just feels like it's going out of control for Bifrost, and they're already down 1-0, right? Not a good spot to be in.
You do not want to be on match point. So have a look at the fight again. It's just really tempered and well controlled by Rogue. They just felt like they had all the cards in this.
But all the tools that we usually would say that the Bifrost composition wins out in weren't used properly in that team fight either. You can see it once again. They are just running them down. And with the pillar coming off cooldown every now and then, it's so difficult for the rest of the members to really fight this. Usually as an Aphelios, you love being in a position where you can kite back. When you're against a Trundle that just keeps putting these pillars down and you need to walk up to the Viktor lasers, it's just so difficult.
And I love the restraint from Sinmivak there, not opting to dive on the Aphelios isolated, because that is an ideal scenario for Bifrost.
Yeah.
Just picking off member by member by member. Cboi first, then Shikari, even saw the hook shot on the pillar, then goes back, right? Happy to take the advantage and knows, you know, if they overstep, that's where Bifrost can capitalize. And I feel like a disciplined team will still succeed against Bifrost in the mid to late. It's when they start making mistakes that Bifrost can answer.
Well, the Polish first seed are putting in a statement in game number 2. They absolutely crushed Bifrost in game number 1. They gave them the scaling options that we know Bifrost play for. And they are now starting to fall apart here. As the Go Rogue just seem to have all of the cards, all of the pressure in this game. And the question for me is, when are Bifrost going to start to fire back?
Well, they should have fired back a little while ago. It's going to be very difficult now. I mean, you still have those 3 items that would be very nice to get to. Question is, can you even get to them? And
Nite's
the thing
level
is,
18.
he is, and he was 17 just like 2 minutes ago as well. Like, the guy has just been able to get so many resources for himself despite Cboi trying to pin him down so much in the early laning stages. The guy is just relentless, and he's not holding back now either. He's great in the sieging aspect.
No!
Wow.
Goodbye.
Wow.
He's down for 45 seconds. This is probably just game here. At least a bunch of inhibitors. Massive scatter by Fury. Sinmivak has used for so much at the moment, and it actually blocked out Fury's ultimate. What a tiny win! Triple kill for Nite! He's jumping in! Cboi caught out by the pillar. They continue to chase forward. They continue to slow him down, and they're looking to give Nite the quadra kill. They can't quite catch up though, as Cboi slowed down, taken down. Ace for the side of a Go Rogue.
I feel like we were focused on the bottom of the fight, and then Nite just wiped half of Bifrost from the map, annihilated them. We've been talking up this Viktor, level 17, level 18. Yeah, that's what you get when you allow the Viktor to free scale, you allow Nite to take over this game.
Little bit of a diffy in the midi, but Nite, what a performance from him this game.
It's going to have to one hell of a fight from Odie, but he is already down. LFLICKR finds the kill. Tower number 1 down. Tower number 2 down. Nexus exposed. And it's 2-0 to the Polish first seed.
So the thing is, first game, right? Bifrost in a composition where we don't really see them. They look a little bit uncomfortable, but at Go Rogue, they're still dominating. Second game, this is what we usually see Bifrost at their best in. And at Go Rogue, they still dominate them. Yes, the early games are slow, but once we finally get past that 25-minute mark, that's where they really start gearing up and they really just start out team fighting you, playing off the back of the scaling aspect of Nite, just completely tearing them up in team fights.
And I feel like from the team fights we've seen in the games Bifrost have succeeded on in EU Masters, it's been like enemy team makes a mistake and they punish. I just feel like Agorog didn't make the mistakes in that game, and then as a result they accumulate that gold lead, they punished Bifrost, and then you had that insane ending coming out, and now 2-0 down for the side of Bifrost. We just saw X7 get 3-0'd yesterday. This could be the NLC getting 6-0'd out of quarters.
Well, Go Rogue looking absolutely phenomenal. They are 2-0 in this series, but we're going to throw to a quick break, and when we're back, we'll have the Des to break that game down. So see you in a moment.